When Axel and Ingrid came back to town for the birth of their baby, my mother-in-law, in her chilly tone, informed me that they would be staying and that I needed to leave. Confused and shocked, I asked why. She responded, saying they didn't need another mother figure anymore, implying I had been redundant for a while. Being treated as a wife without ever truly feeling accepted into the family since the day I got married was hard enough. But being told to leave like this was a new low. The words cut deep as she continued, calling me a barren failure and implying that my presence was no longer wanted or needed. I couldn't believe it. Not only was I being forced out of my own home, but I was also being stripped of any semblance of belonging in this family. It seemed my worth was solely measured by my ability to bear children, and now that Axel and Ingrid were expanding the family, I was disposable. As I processed the situation, I realized this wasn't just about Axel and Ingrid's return. It was about something deeper, something that had been brewing for a long time. My mother-in-law's words stung, but they also opened my eyes to the reality of my situation. I am Saga Thompson, 43 years old, living with my husband and mother-in-law in a bustling area near the station. Our apartment, albeit expensive, offered convenience and space, which my husband, Liam, insisted on when we were house hunting. Liam, 8 years my senior, was a comforting presence in my life, even though he came with a son, Axel, from a previous marriage. Liam had assured me of happiness despite my infertility, promising to make adjustments to accommodate me in his life. But now, faced with this ultimatum from my mother-in-law, it felt like those promises were hollow. Axel, nearing his 10th birthday, was never warm towards me. Despite my efforts to bond, he remained distant, perhaps a reflection of the strained relationship between his parents. Liam's parents had been his primary caregivers since his divorce, and now, with his father's passing, his mother had taken over Axel's upbringing. The dynamics in the household were complex. Despite my attempts to integrate and contribute, it seemed I was always an outsider. Even my mother-in-law's initial politeness upon our engagement now felt like a facade, hiding her true feelings of resentment towards me. Adjusting my work schedule and responsibilities to accommodate the household's needs seemed like a small sacrifice for the sake of harmony. Yet, despite my efforts, I was still treated as an outsider, my contributions overlooked or taken for granted. As I packed my belongings, I couldn't help but feel a sense of betrayal. Liam's assurances of happiness and acceptance now felt like empty promises, shattered by the harsh reality of my situation. But as I prepared to leave, I vowed to face this reality head-on, refusing to let their rejection define my worth or future happiness. I often found myself eating alone even after tying the knot. Sometimes I questioned if this was all there was to our family dynamic. Yet, over time, I resigned myself to the idea that this was just how things were meant to be from the start. My mother-in-law's chilly demeanor towards me never warmed, and I felt like an outsider in my own home. Attempting to bridge the gap with Axel, my stepson, proved challenging. Despite my efforts, he remained distant. When I inquired about his school activities, my mother-in-law swiftly intervened, asserting that it would be just her and Liam attending. Her words seemed considerate at first, but in hindsight, I realized they were exclusionary. When I discussed this with Liam, he revealed his mother's belief that I was trying to take Axel away. This revelation shook me to the core. It became apparent that my mother-in-law had been poisoning Axel's mind against me, painting me as a threat to their bond. This malicious manipulation left me feeling betrayed and hurt. As Axel grew older, he moved out to live with his girlfriend after high school and eventually got married. Surprisingly, my mother-in-law ceased all household chores, instead focusing her attention on criticizing me. She no longer cooked, leaving me to fend for myself in the kitchen, where my lack of culinary skills became a point of ridicule. Her constant nitpicking extended beyond meals to every aspect of my existence in the household. From cleaning to laundry, nothing I did seemed to meet her standards. Her demeaning comments cut deep, leaving me feeling inadequate and unappreciated. It became evident that her disdain for me stemmed from a deep-seated emptiness she felt after Axel's departure. Her harsh words and actions were a manifestation of her empty nest syndrome, a term I had heard but never truly understood until then. If directing her frustration at me provided her with some solace, then so be it, I reasoned. Despite the pain her words caused, I couldn't help but empathize with her sense of loss. However, her constant belittlement wore me down, leaving me feeling powerless and insignificant in my own home. I longed for acceptance and understanding, but all I received was criticism and disdain. In the face of adversity, I found solace in my own resilience. I refused to let her words define me or dictate my happiness. Though the road ahead seemed daunting, I was determined to reclaim my sense of self-worth and find peace within myself, even in the midst of familial discord. Enduring my mother-in-law's bullying became even more challenging after a significant event: the announcement of Ingrid's pregnancy, Axel's wife. The joy that swept through my mother-in-law was palpable, unlike anything I had witnessed before. She seemed ecstatic at the prospect of becoming a grandmother, especially since Axel and Ingrid relied on us for support, given that Ingrid's family lived an hour away. Axel's requests for assistance and my mother-in-law's subsequent preparations for the baby consumed our household. Her excitement knew no bounds as she meticulously cleaned and organized Axel's room, prepared the bedding, and compiled a list of baby items. It was as if she had caught a severe case of great-grandchild fever, and I found myself pulled into the frenzy as well. Returning from work meant diving into a whirlwind of tasks assigned by my mother-in-law. Vacuuming Axel's room was just the beginning. I was expected to wipe floors, clean windows, and even wax them. The demands were relentless, especially after exhausting workdays. Any attempt to take shortcuts was met with stern reprimands, and soon, my mother-in-law began requesting money for the seemingly endless array of baby supplies. I hesitated, questioning the necessity of such excessive spending before Axel and Ingrid had even arrived. My cautious approach was met with accusations of indifference towards Liam's grandchild, as my lack of blood relation to Axel was thrown in my face. Despite my attempts to explain my concerns, I was dismissed, leaving me feeling both hurt and misunderstood. The tension escalated when my mother-in-law retreated to her room, refusing to engage with me further. Liam's departure for a 3-day business trip only exacerbated the situation, as he voiced dissatisfaction with my financial concerns. Our discussions about money always seemed to end in frustration, with Liam's implicit expectation that his earnings should suffice. Managing our finances became my responsibility over our 11 years of marriage, a role I took seriously. Liam had always encouraged me to enjoy my part-time income, but I couldn't shake the feeling of responsibility towards our future. Despite my efforts to save diligently, my contributions were often disregarded, leaving me feeling undervalued and resentful. As tensions simmered in our household, I found myself grappling with a sense of isolation and frustration. My attempts to navigate the complexities of family dynamics and financial responsibility seemed futile in the face of my mother-in-law's unwavering expectations and Liam's implicit disapproval. Yet, amidst the turmoil, I remained determined to assert my worth and protect our financial security, even if it meant confronting uncomfortable truths about our relationships and priorities. As I reflected on our shared finances, I couldn't help but feel a sense of responsibility towards our property. However, Liam's company faced challenges, leading to a significant decrease in his salary over the past 5 years. Despite the uncertainty surrounding his job's future, Liam seemed reluctant to consider other opportunities, particularly in the presence of my mother-in-law, who held a high regard for his current position as a department head. The strain on our finances became apparent, with me shouldering the burden of rent payments while Liam covered daily expenses. To preserve Liam's dignity, We kept this financial struggle from my mother-in-law, yet the weight of our situation remained heavy on my shoulders. One day, after leaving work early to reconcile with my mother-in-law, I was blindsided by her unexpected demand. I had to vacate the house in preparation for Axel and Ingrid's imminent return. Her declaration, delivered in a chilling tone, left me stunned and disoriented. It was a harsh reminder of my perpetual outsider status within the family. As my mother-in-law's words sank in, a sense of betrayal washed over me. Her accusations of redundancy and failure as a wife cut deep, and the insinuation that Liam might be finding comfort elsewhere sent shockwaves through my already fragile emotions. Despite my attempts to reach Liam, his absence only fueled my anxiety, leading me to question the state of our relationship. Lost in a whirlwind of doubt and despair, I found myself seeking solace in familiar surroundings. The tavern behind the station, once a haven for us as a couple, beckoned to me like an old friend. As I indulged in a cold beer and grilled chicken, memories of happier times flooded my mind, reminding me of the family bond one longed to reclaim. However, the revelation from a waitress shattered any lingering illusions of stability. Learning of Liam's affair with a colleague ignited a firestorm of anger within me. With newfound determination, I resolved to take control of my destiny, starting with moving out of the house that no longer felt like home. With each item packed and removed, I reclaimed a sense of autonomy and self-worth. Despite my mother-in-law's protests, I stood firm in my decision, determined to forge a new path forward. As the last remnants of my presence were erased from the house, I bid farewell to a chapter of my life marked by struggle and disillusionment. Armed with resilience and determination, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery, leaving behind the shadows of the past to embrace a future filled with possibility and promise. Leaving no trace of myself behind, I declared my departure to my stunned mother-in-law, placing the keys on the table as I exited the room. The movers held onto my belongings temporarily, and I sought refuge with a single colleague, finding solace in a sense of completion as I slept soundly that night. A week later, I finally heard from my husband, but any hopes of reconciliation were dashed when I received damning evidence of his affair from the young woman at the tavern. With my last vestiges of affection for him extinguished, I confronted him with the truth, refusing to return home despite his pleas. When Axel and his family sought shelter with us, due to financial struggles, I refused to relent, knowing my mother-in-law's wishes to have me gone for good. My husband's silence spoke volumes, acknowledging the rift between us that had long been ignored. Returning to the house weeks later, I encountered a tense atmosphere, with Axel's accusatory words echoing in the air. Yet, as my husband revealed the truth about our financial contributions, my mother-in-law's surprise mirrored my own. It was time to lay bare the reality of our situation, no longer allowing misconceptions to fester in silence. Acknowledging my role as a part-time pharmacist and the main breadwinner, I shattered the illusion of complacency that had clouded my mother-in-law's perception. It was a moment of clarity, where truths long hidden came to light, setting the stage for a new chapter in our family's story, their mother in a nursing home instead. As for me, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery, determined to reclaim my autonomy and rebuild my life on my own terms. Despite the pain and turmoil of the divorce, I found solace in knowing that I had stood up for myself and confronted the truth, even in the face of adversity. As I reflected on the events that had unfolded, I realized the importance of asserting my worth and refusing to be silenced or sidelined by those who sought to undermine me. Through it all, I emerged stronger and more resilient, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Though the road ahead may be uncertain, I take comfort in knowing that I have the strength and courage to navigate it with grace and resilience. And as I move forward, I carry with me the lessons learned from this chapter of my life, knowing that each challenge is an opportunity for growth and transformation, It's a poignant realization to see my mother-in-law, who once poured so much love into her son and grandson, now being considered for placement in a care facility. Despite any bitterness that may linger from past conflicts, there's a tinge of sadness in the thought of her potential abandonment. It makes me wonder if her role in their lives has come to an end, serving her purpose in their eyes. Reflecting on how things might have been different if certain events hadn't transpired, I can't help but think that perhaps we could still be living together if my mother-in-law hadn't intervened. Maybe it would have been a simple trip home for childbirth, rather than the unraveling of our family unit. In the midst of this emotional upheaval, I received a heartfelt apology letter from Axel. He expressed regrets about his behavior as a child, how he longed to have a closer relationship with me, but felt constrained by his grandmother's disapproval. His words stir a sense of longing for what could have been, prompting me to wonder if I could have done more to bridge the gap between us. Despite the end of our relationship, I find myself quietly wishing for Axel's happiness and fulfillment in life. It's a reminder that even amidst the pain of separation, there's still room for compassion and understanding. Returning to work as a pharmacist, I've taken steps to carve out a new life for myself. Renting an apartment close to my workplace, I've made a conscious decision to let go of the furniture and appliances I took with me from the old house. It's a symbolic gesture of moving forward, leaving behind the remnants of a past that no longer serves me. Life without my mother-in-law's constant harassment is a welcome change, bringing a sense of peace and comfort to my days. For now, I'm focused on living for my own happiness, rather than trying to please others. It's a journey of self-discovery and empowerment, one that I embrace wholeheartedly as I navigate the uncertainties of the future. As I settle into my new routine, I find myself relishing the freedom and autonomy that comes with living on my own. The simple joys of coming home to a quiet and peaceful apartment after a long day's work are a stark contrast to the tension and turmoil of my previous living situation. It's a refreshing change, one that allows me to focus on my own well-being and personal growth. Without the constant demands and criticisms of my mother-in-law weighing me down, I feel a renewed sense of energy and purpose. I take pleasure in the small things, like decorating my apartment to reflect my own tastes and interests, or indulging in hobbies and activities that bring me joy. One of the things I've come to appreciate most is the opportunity to reconnect with old friends and forge new connections within my community. Freed from the constraints of a toxic environment, I find myself reaching out more, seeking companionship and support from those who uplift and inspire me. In my moments of solitude, I find solace in reflection and introspection. I ponder the lessons learned from my past experiences, acknowledging both the triumphs and the setbacks as valuable stepping stones on my journey. It's a process of self-discovery and self-acceptance, as I learn to embrace my own strengths and vulnerabilities with compassion and grace. As I look towards the future, I feel a sense of optimism and excitement for what lies ahead. I'm eager to chart my own course, to pursue my dreams and aspirations with determination and resilience. Though the road may be uncertain, I walk it with confidence, knowing that I have the courage and resilience to face whatever challenges may come my way. Life without my mother-in-law's presence may have its own complexities and uncertainties, but it's also filled with endless possibilities and opportunities for growth. With each passing day, I am reminded that true happiness lies not in the approval of others, but in the strength and resilience of my own spirit. And for that,